Now, I'd like to welcome Professor Sander Münster. He is working for the Time Machine Organization, but also is a professor at the for digital humanities at the Friedrich Schiller University of Jena. And Sander is really an expert when it comes to 3D mobile interfaces and digital humanities and heritage. And I give now the floor to explain a bit more about 4D browsing.
With great pleasure. Many thanks for the introduction. And it's really hard to compete after such a nice, such a plastic and such a haptic experience as presented now, to going back to the virtual world again. So Cityscapes will be our topic here. And in a nutshell, we are working very much with historic buildings, historic cityscapes. And of course, always the question, how could we bring these cityscapes in a virtual world? What could we do with that? In our case, it's at the one hand a demo case from Amsterdam, where we are working with the 4D research lab at the University of Amsterdam. They had done a wonderful 3D model of the Vlooienburg quarter. Dutch colleagues may correct my pronunciation in case, of around 1890. Also from Switzerland, the EPFL has created a wonderful model, multi-layered model of Sion, a historic city in the Valais, so central Switzerland. And finally, we have a demo case from Dresden, from, in that case, not only a single timestamp, but a time period, time series created by colleagues, for instance, at the CODIP at the TU Dresden, and also partners from my group. And finally, let's switch now to Slovenia, the heritage of Idrija, which has become a storyline, but also a set of blog reports, and finally this, not haptic, but at least deviceless browsing experience via the Holo Pyramid. I think about this last one we will hear a bit later in one of the next presentations. What has been done? At the one hand, it was about bringing additional models into the Europeana, and we are really happy that one part of the work we have done in this endeavor here has been to splitting up, to preparing this model, to ingesting and reaching metadata to it, and therefore bringing it into the data space. Finally, it has been over 8,100 3D models we got in there. Also, besides the mentioned cases, not to forget about Trento from North Italy. Many thanks to the FPK colleagues who provided us with these models. After that, of course, one important question for us would be what else to do with these models? And specifically, could we present all these 3D reconstructions, all these 3D models in one web viewer? And what if we are connecting these 3D models to co-creation environments, co-using environments, and therefore enable it to multiple users and scenarios? And that's something where, okay, it's with sound here, where our group is working on since a while, to bringing in these different sets of 3D measures, 3D models. You may excuse that this is in German, but I think the visuals are well understandable, even if in another language, into different XR experiences, but also to dealing with that into mobile browser applications, to having 4D viewers, etc. And finally, to connecting these to research activities, for instance, about a landscape of 3D reconstruction of digital modeling, etc. in Europe. So that's our starting point, and also we have a very large set of data where we are working on in creating and co-creating these 4D experiences with more than 200,000 images at the moment, 400,000 building geometries, plus also some world scale sets of DEM, but of course also textual information, as for instance from the Wikipedia. And of course, it's also very much about the pipeline, so how to retrieving data from different sources. So one of our main approaches here is to gathering these data from different endpoints, for instance, the Wikimedia Foundation provided or Elevation API and so on. Also some steps for processing building geometries from building footprints specifically, but also image specialization. That's something to creating these type of experiences, and finally also storing 3D models as far as available, for instance, in Zenodo. The front-end application in our case, it's very much also to dealing with real-time data at the one hand, also 3D, but also digital elevation models, and to do and process these things at world scale, and in the fourth, the temporal dimension. So how could we present also time varying content and do it for mobile devices, but also multiple others. Finally, one example to deliver here, and what we did specifically worked out in the 5D Culture project, has been to utilizing Zenodo as a CERN offered storage and data repository for 3D content, but also for 2D content. So we did set up a complete pipeline, more or less, to coming from 3D geometries to enriched metadata, but also up to publishing these things into Zenodo, having some processing steps also in order to creating, for instance, metadata sets out there, which could be brought into the Europeana and the data space. So that's something we are really happy to having this available now via our GitHub repository. It's a Jupyter notebook, so to enable also to learning and testing it on your own, if you wish. And we are now having tested this for over 100,000 data items so far. So it's working more or less well and very stable, and also enables us to having this storage and IO for data at a larger scale. What else to do? Of course, the question is how to visualizing, making these things accessible by others. So for instance, via the multi-touch tables, but also on different browser-based applications, smartphones, desktops, and a bit more exotic, if you wish. Of course, these items like this holopyramids, so these deviceless visualization devices, and of course, augmented virtual realities with glasses. Let me now switch to a next video. So of course, to showing to you how it finally looked like. So with regards to these browser-based application where we now have into these different landscape into, that is a direct viewport view of these for the browser applications. By the way, please feel most invited to testing it on your own outside on the multi-touch. And the main idea is also to providing these type of access to different data layers, so starting from images, but also connecting these with the 3D viewports, also providing some additional information, enriched metadata, for instance, and therefore having an experience also or some information also about the single items shown there. Again, for us, a very important issue here is the fourth dimension, the time dimension. So how did a city evolve over time? How did it transit over time? And also what does it mean with regards to changing in buildings, building structures, but also with regards, for instance, to available data sources, photographs, textual data, etc. One scenario we are serving with that is to enabling people to browsing for specific pictures, for specific images and data sets. And therefore we are, for instance, working together with the Saxon State Library, which is using this application as an alternative interface to their photo collections for their users in the libraries for searching for time and space related photographs. What you see here is another, a more research oriented view of these applications. And that is, for instance, to learning about how images has been photographed and how a distribution of images was over time. You see now that we also implemented it for the different cities mentioned in the beginning. So if you wish, please feel most invited to exploring virtual Amsterdam, Sion, but also Wettelrode as an industrial heritage site on your own. We had chance to presenting about this at different, sorry, let me mute this, at different exhibitions, includes this in different exhibitions. For instance, we got selected for having a booth at the Digitalgipfel of the Federal Government of Germany last year in November, but also had chance to placing these things at different exhibition spaces. And also there was a nice exhibition in the Maritime Museum in Amsterdam with a physical exhibition in 2022, but now enriched as an online exhibition since 2023. What are achievements at the moment? So with these 40 applications, we have counted around 40,000 user sessions since March 2024. Of course, not all are specific and unique users. Besides that, we had these number of 3D models ingested in the data space, but also we are happy to having now experiences in 8 countries in Europe, and also had various presentations about the 4D applications. In the end, let me just briefly switch to what else to do with these kind of 3D, 4D applications as an ecosystem. So firstly, we are happy to have a chance to conducting several citizen contests. So one starting in 2022, now is another one in progress, where people are rephotographing their historic cityscapes via their smartphones. At the one hand, of course, co-creating, enriching, contributing to a joint city memory, but secondly, also providing for us training data for the AI approaches. Another approach there, of course, is that of school projects. In that case, not for teaching XR applications so much, as we have heard greatly before about in the previous talk, but for us, it's about enriching things within these 3D and 4D applications. So we had 110 pupils taking part there in these school courses since 2023. For instance, to describing the spots in their city for other kids and creating virtual tours within the 4D applications and so on. And let me now conclude with just another small view on what else to do with these things. We have seen now a spotlight of the 4D browser application. Another main application we are maintaining is about providing a mobile browser-based view of the city, and again doing it worldwide with, in that case, an example taken from Germany, from Jena, and where the main idea is to providing a on location, a on-site 4D experience, so to enabling you to see your specific location where you are standing 100 years ago, and of course also transiting over time, but also having access to information about buildings surrounding you, but also, for instance, Wikipedia articles worldwide and so on, in order to learning about your environments, your surroundings. And finally, of course, it's about the 4D scale again. So how does the city changes over time? How does buildings change? How when has been things erected, destroyed, etc., in order to enabling people to getting an idea about the place where they are standing, where they are living, and how it changed over time.